Zacks Rank Buys, stocks with a short-term buy or strong buy recommendation. Now, here are more Zacks Rank Buys. Let's check out some momentum stock picks once again with Mike Vodicka, our momentum stock analyst at Zacks.com. He's got a couple of gems here that have some upward draft to them, so to speak, like Wright Express Corporation, WXS, the ticker symbol.
Yeah, that's our first company. This company kind of caught my attention here because it was sort of unique. I've never really heard of a company like this before. So I wanted to go into a little bit more in-depth explanation of what they do.
What's unique about it?
I'll tell you, is they provide payment processing services to companies that operate fleets of like delivery cars. So to give you, it sounds
fleets of delivery cars. Okay.
Yeah, fleets of like like delivery vans. Something you could think along the lines of UPS would be one.
Oh, okay.
Federal Express.
All right.
Yeah, and so what they do is they provide basically a credit card to them. They don't actually back the debt or sponsor the card, but they provide statistical analysis that's attached to the card. So they issue the card to someone like UPS or Federal Express, and they do a lot of work with the government too. And these cards are tied into an infrastructure, an analytical system that every time it gets swiped, it sends the information back to the processing center, and they can do statistical analysis on like how much fuel they're spending.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it's fairly interesting. I've never heard of a company like this before.
Not much competition in this industry.
No, it's fairly narrow what they do. Yeah, it's kind of a narrow slice of the market, but it was definitely it was a nice tie-in to what we're seeing right now. Energy prices have been down for the last year, but recently, in the last couple of months, we're seeing them come up again a little bit. And the macro level trend is definitely in the favor of companies want to save money on energy, so they're leveraging the technology to do that.
Okay. Where's the momentum here coming from?
Well, they reported fairly solid first quarter results at the end of April. The earnings per share were 42 cents per, and there was a 16-cent beat. They had a nice increase in vehicle service were up 6%. MasterCard purchasing volumes were up 23%, so it was a fairly solid quarter.
All right.
Analysts have been bullish on the earnings picture. They've been upgrading their earnings projections. From a valuation perspective, it's a little more pricey than the overall market. It's trading at 16 times. The market's trading at about 14 times right now. That's fairly reasonable considering their next year estimate is projecting 12% earnings growth, so it makes sense to pay a little bit of a premium for it.
Okay.
And then moving on to the final piece of the puzzle here, which I was talking about, it would be the chart.
Show me the picture. Show me the money.
This is one of those stocks that really got a boost with the overall market in early March. It took off from about $12, and recently it touched 28, so it's up more than 100% in the last 3 months or so. It's very, very big gains.
What's that little dip, though, almost right at the end there? What is that indicating?
Well, you know what? Yeah, that's basically a little bit of a downturn. We saw some resistance. It looks like it bumped into a level that it had traded in about a year ago. And sometimes when stocks hit those new highs, they'll come back, they'll retreat a little bit, take a breather, and then make another push higher.
So that's not a significant downturn?
I wouldn't say significant, but it's something that you would want to keep your eye on if you're trading in the short term.
Okay.
Longer-term investors not as concerned about that.
All right. Here's a stock with your first name attached to it, Michael Baker Corp.
It's part of the reason why I liked it.
BKR, the ticker symbol. And they are in what business?
This is also a kind of an interesting company, too. They provide engineering services to both the public and private sector. They work with the Department of Defense, environmental agencies, civil work, municipalities.
So environmental engineering?
Not specifically environmental. That's one of the things they do, but they provide general engineering architectural services to both private and public entities.
All right.
Again, this is kind of an interesting company, too, because it plays into really what's happening with the big infrastructure play now with the stimulus bill that was passed a couple months ago. The government's flooding a lot of these agencies with dollars, and the dollars are being sent out, contracted out. And so we're seeing that money hit the street, and Baker looks well-positioned to take advantage of that.
Wish somebody flood me with some dollars.
I feel the same way, believe me. Their first quarter results they reported on May 7th, and again, it was a nice beat. They had earnings per share were 88 cents, 16 cents ahead of the consensus. One thing I wanted to mention too is they had a really clean balance sheet. That's another thing I liked about them. They have no long-term debt, a little bit of short-term debt, and they have a $57 million cash balance on hand, so that'll help them out. And then going to the chart here, of course, this stock here, it looks like it's been rallying a little sooner since about late April. It started off at about 25, and since it's crossed the 43 mark, so we've got some nice short-term gains. Mm-hmm. One thing that I wanted to mention that I thought was interesting about both of these companies are doing well, and they're servicing the government. We're seeing the government spending a lot of money right now, so it's not a coincidence.
And we won't go down that road because we're about out of time. But if you want to take a look at more momentum stocks that Mike has written about recently, go to Zacks.com's homepage and click on the headline next to the momentum listing in the upper right-hand corner of that homepage. With Michael Vodicka, I'm Terry Ruffalo.